Hey everybody, we're back with another race report for you. This one from the inaugural Folsom Swimrun long course.
More rock flute.
More rock flute. Spoiler, we won the team division. What do you know? Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 134 of the show. Right on the heels of last week's Ödyssey Swimrun Casco Bay race report show, we have another race report for this past weekend's Total Body Fitness Racing's, it's a mouthful, Folsom Swimrun. This was our 10th swimrun and our first with our collective families present to share in the experience. So we'll be talking about that. We went in with zero expectations for this inaugural swim run, and we were pleasantly surprised. We experienced a really fun, well-organized event that it seemed like everybody enjoyed. And as Chipper mentioned, we won the long course team division, so that was pretty cool. You'll explain why that's,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Had a good time.
That's great. Let's jump right into sort of initial thoughts.
Yeah,
Chipper, how are you feeling like coming off a race week into another one?
So we kind of had a weird in-between week after Casco. We had a couple days of recovery, and then we had a few days of these races were 6 days apart. But admittedly, the Folsom Swimrun race isn't the longest race that we're doing this year. It's actually the shortest one with a total of only 8 miles of racing.
And I was actually thinking if that was the shortest race we've ever done, but California Swimrun was 7.
7, okay. Because I felt like they were about the same, and it was eerily similar to that experience for us, I felt like, because we did the California Swimrun, Andy Hewitt's swimrun down there in San Diego that we did in 2018. And I remember specifically that was our first exposure to swimrun. We came out there. There was some Swedes out there looking very pro and svelte. And they looked like they knew what the hell they were doing, and we did not.
We were sort of talking quietly, seeing people, they're going to use the tether.
Oh, they have shin floats. We don't have the shin floats. Or, oh my God, look at those buoys, or things like that. That was us, smash cut 4 years ago, and here, kind of being at this race. One, it was cool that this is the first race in California in a couple of years. Let alone it's only a 2-hour, depending with traffic. 2-hour drive from where we reside.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have a lot to say about what Total Body Fitness managed to achieve with this race, which I'm going to say for later. But yeah, I think that I think it's safe to say that we went into this event with a little bit of skepticism. It's a first-year race, no real track record in swim run or anything like that, but also going in with an open mind. It's like, hey, this is a local swim run. If I can speak for you, Chipper, I think we really believe that if we're really going to grow this thing, we need to have more local events for people to cut their teeth on sort of chill swim runs before heading to Casco or something. So yeah, I think it was there was a lot of firsts, as you mentioned. This was the first time bringing our families with us. It was the first time racing swim run in back-to-back weeks, and this was a first-time event. And I think going into the weekend, one thing that in hindsight was just super cool was, there's these things that we do where we try to do the best job we can. Like, we're trying to be the best husbands and fathers and sons and everything that we can be. We try to do a good job at work. And then, with the swimrun thing, we're also trying to do that really well. And our family life and our swimrun life, they basically run in parallel.
They have to.
They run in parallel, but they rarely overlap because we've never had our families with us, and they've overlapped when people make sacrifices so we can go to races and stuff. But this was really the first time where my wife told me, she's like, I've never seen sort of the ritual of you getting ready for a swim run before, because I've never even gone to one of your practices. And it was just interesting to see also that she was like, rawr, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was just, it almost made me see it sort of differently, having done now 10 of them, to get sort of it almost like I was doing it for the first time, because she was sort of showing me how it's like, oh yeah, you do this thing. That's so, it's like this whole ritual too of getting ready and the warm up and everything.
But they also were, they've been to plenty of triathlons back in the day and have been at the, 4 a.m. wake ups and we got to get transition really early and set up. But this was much more casual. The long course started at 9 a.m. And Chris and I were kind of chatting through our pre-race thing. We stayed at the same hotel. The kids were swimming in the pool together. It was a great time.
Fun fact: same hotel where Chipper got married.
That is true.
13 years
ago.
Years ago.
In my early 20s, and we're like, well, the families are going to be here, so it's going to be like just be ready for anything in the morning. It's 9's a nice cushion, especially with family.
Yeah,
there, are the kids going to wake up? We got to get food, all this kind of stuff. So it was a nice casual start to the day, and I did like we got to sleep in comparison to what we had been doing in the past. So it was nice, and we talked. Here's what we agreed on before. We said, well, let's go out there and let's use the first swim and the first run to kind of warm up. See how it goes.
Spoiler alert: Chipper
didn't happen.
Chipper pulled a Chris, basically.
So we said
more on that later.
We'll do that, and then we'll see how it goes. Because we were talking, and we're like, well, there's probably a good chance that we might be some of the only people that have done a swim run before. Which, in fact,
it was true.
It was pretty much true. There was
the race director Bill asked before the short course and the long course how many people done a swim run, and it was.
Maybe like a few hands had went up. So that was really cool from that perspective that there was so many new people coming in. And the long course one had definitely more people that had done a swim run. There was people that had raced Ödyssey Austin and Catalina. So there's definitely a thriving
bunch of listeners of the show.
That's true. There was definitely I saw many Low Tide Boys shirts there, including on the podium. Not just us.
That's right.
But yeah, let's, and I will say we kind of to your point there, we had actually reached out to the race director, let him know, hey, how can we help you get people educated for this? We have lots of different guides and stuff. And they were kind enough to invite us out to do it. And I got to say, I was super impressed with how everything turned out.
Totally. I think going in with an open mind, this was an interesting race because we thought it would take us like an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half or something, and we were just going to try to press the whole time and just kind of see what happens. So that was a little bit different than what we're used to, which is usually more of like a keep it in your pants type thing. But yeah, I thought this event, the more time passes since it happened, the better, the more memorable it's become for a bunch of reasons, not just because our families were there, but it was a really fun race. I think we'll talk about our race report in a second here where I think we were working really, really well together. And it seemed like basically a continuation of Casco where we were just good communication, crisp swimming, everything. It was we put together, I think, we definitely got into the flow state, I guess, is what I'll say about that. But yeah, super fun, man. Should we just get into this thing?
So the leg by leg breakdown. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
We first off, like we talk about first, we've been talking about that the whole time. First swim start.
Yeah, actually,
in the water.
Swim run. Yeah, this was like a meme from back in the day. Why is it called swim run when it starts with a run?
So Chris and I did a little warm up jog, which was good. Kind of made sure we knew it was short, and we knew we were going to be having the engines going, revved up. So we wanted to make sure we got a decent
right. Plus, it was a mass start. Which is mass. This whole thing is kind of in quotes, long course in quotes. It was only 8-ish miles long. Mass start. They were
everyone was just sitting in the water,
just basically sitting in the water. And so starting the race, I was like, "Hey Chipper, let's get on the right side a little bit and kind of swim around these people." And I will say, so that this first swim was how long?
1K.
1K. So the race starts. Chipper and I are already pretty warmed up. We just go, and it's like a triathlon swim, except a new experience for me because I was in the back. I was basically in tether protection mode because people kept trying to get on your feet. People were not sighting and just basically trying to go perpendicular into us. And my job was just to protect the tether from anyone essentially swimming over it and kind of screwing our line. And got hit in the elbow, all this stuff. I was kind of pushing people off. I had to be a little bit aggressive, but I think that's kind of what I had to do, right?
It was a good experience because we don't get a ton of that because usually sort of the first run of a swim run, people naturally seed themselves, if you will. And all the swims are really cool because it basically crossed you back and forth over the American River.
Yeah.
In Folsom. So that was cool. So
Which they call a lake, but it's a river, right?
Well, Folsom Lake is also part of it, but we were swimming in the American River.
Oh, gotcha.
So we had that mile swim, and for some reason I, in my head, thought it was only going to be like 400. So I was going pretty hard out of the gate. And then we quickly kind of like broke off into one of the packs, probably after maybe 300 or 400 yards.
We definitely, Royal, we took a good line, and you're really moving. So we're getting to the swim exit, and I want to tell this part because from the back, I feel like I told you this morning on our run, but from the back, I just had this moment where I was thinking about this meme that we wrote a while back, where it's this woman, and the quote is like, when you see your partner just transition and run up the beach like a boss, and the caption goes, "I love that I love that bitch," or something like that. And so this exit, there was like a little ramp that you could take. You kind of had to go a little around the corner thing, or go straight to these rocks. They were just on the side of the river.
Yeah.
And Chipper's heading straight for the rocks, and I'm like, all right. There's a volunteer who's basically like trying to point him to his left in order to take this little ramp. But at that point, there was only one person ahead of us, this 15-year-old guy who's like a freak. And Chipper essentially goes straight to the rocks, transitions out like a gazelle, climbs up the rocks, doesn't even wait to see if I'm there. I was there, thank goodness, but you were just going. Over. And I just had this moment where I was like, look at this guy. Look at him go.
So I don't know what got into me. Maybe it's because we had sort of agreed that we were going to give it the gas the night before, but we had also agreed, and it was even my idea, to take it easy. Not take it easy, but warm up. But for some reason, the Seabiscuit complex took over, and this person was in front of us for probably like 100 yards. And I was like, I'm going to take a different line and try to beat him out of the water. Mm-hmm. So I went for that. And then the volunteer, I specifically remember coming out because a kid went towards the boat ramp thing, and I just came up, and she goes, "Oh, the other way's easier." And I remember in my head, like, I don't care about easier. I care about getting out faster.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember doing this, but you basically gave her, like, with the paddle, you were like, it's okay kind of thing. You did, one of these moves.
Whoops.
And, so you just climb. So you go, like, climb right up over the rocks. I do the same thing. And typically, I usually lead the runs. Yeah. But you didn't even look back. You're like, I'm going. And at that point, your buddy Nate, super cool of him to basically come out and cheer. He was just doing like a 20-mile run or something. He was like, let me hang out.
Yeah, his wife was in town for some event, and he's an ultra runner, and he ran the length of this trail that we were on. So he did a 18 or 19-mile run. So he ran all the way down to the swim exit 1, and I get out looking like a badass apparently. And get out, and I hear "Low Tide Boys" Chip, and I'm like, "What's up, dude? Oh my god, I couldn't believe you made it!" As I start taking off, trying to chase.
Yeah, so you take off, and he's following us, and you're already moving at a pretty good clip. And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what's happening right now, but let's just go with it.
Go with it.
And it was just so funny because you just totally pulled a Chris Douglas.
I did.
So that first run was pretty short.
It's a half mile.
Now
we did something a little bit different. I didn't write any of the distances on the paddles this time.
Yeah.
And mostly because I hadn't cleaned my paddles off from before, so there wasn't a lot of room to write them on. And 2, we just were like, let's mix it up and do something different.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. So the route was cool because swim run, the first swim and run and second swim is essentially a triangle that takes you right back to start line. Mm-hmm. So our families were there when we started. We do the first swim, the first run, and then we do the second swim, which kind of takes us back across the river to the start area, which was
that was only like a 400 or 500 yard swim.
And we come out of the water, and our kids are cheering for us.
Yeah, it was
the whole thing. At that point, we had a pretty big gap already behind us. So it was there was just this 15-year-old kid ahead of us, and we just took off down the road.
Yeah. So we got out of that run, and that was a mile run there, along kind of making our way down both sides of the American River. There's the American River path there. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what you're using for most of the running. I thought it was really cool. Trails. It actually reminded us a lot of Austin, Ödyssey Austin, kind of similar hard pack dirt, some little bit of technical stuff.
Right. So there's also a lot of people out, which I thought was really cool. I mean, I didn't know Folsom was, I mean, it was just like your quintessential sort of active people outdoor recreating on mountain bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes, people running, walking, hiking, the whole thing. It was cool.
Yeah. So we swam back, got out of the water again, saw our family there for the swim 2. Now, run 2 took us back up, and that one was 1 mile. And then we cut back across with another, 500-600 yard swim that you actually ended up taking that swim.
Yeah, so I basically led swim 2, led run 3, right? No, run 2.
It would be run 2.
And then just straight up led that swim and took us back across the other side.
Yeah, and then that took us to the longer run of the day, which was 2.3 miles.
Right.
And it started at 9, and the starting temperature was like 65.
Mm-hmm.
So probably by this time, it had already been creeping into the 80s. So we knew the high for the day in Folsom was 100 degrees. So we knew we were going to have the VIGs on.
Yeah.
Chris got his new VIG. We were very excited about that. And I had mine that I don't get to wear that often, but I was more than happy to wear it. The water, I will say, it was
a little chilly.
It was kind of chilly at first.
For that first one, it was chilly, but after that, it just was so refreshing. Like, it almost needed it to.
So that long run, I felt every effort level that we had, and I think this really talks to, we were talking about this morning, is like, it's nice to see all the training pay off on the track, and we feel like we could say, hey, we're going to go zone 4 or Z3 plus, and we know what.
Yeah.
We're not looking at our watch like, oh, are we doing 7:15s or are we doing this or that? We know what those efforts are like because we practiced them.
Yeah, and
much.
And that run, I think, just like in Casco, I feel like we leveled up just from like a temperament and just problem solving perspective. I feel in this one we leveled up as well because it was like we were pressing the whole time and we just kept kind of opening it up a little bit more. We even did some 650 miles during that one. That's
quick for us.
Booking. I mean, it felt good for sure. And like I told you this morning, I feel like for a while there, I feel like my run fitness was sort of a little bit higher than yours, whereas your swim fitness was a little higher than mine. And I feel like we were kind of at the same level, which I think it's great given that we have this huge race in a month, right? Like to kind of have it be dialed in like that. It was good. It was good. I mean, it was almost more, encouraging or for Worlds this race than Casco was, because Casco was a known entity. This was some short thing where we were going to try a different strategy. Yeah. And for me that run was super fun because we were just moving in and out, ducking in and out of the trail.
Yeah, we were really in the flow there. Probably should have taken my swim cap off like right away. I don't know why I kept it on. I think because I don't know. Who knows? I need to just take my cap off when I know it's going to be a long run.
That getting into that water, I almost didn't zip back up. Just
it was. I mean, it was definitely hot in even the VIGs. So this was also a really good test because the water temp was probably low 60s, I would say, and the air temp was high 70s, low 80s. So it was a good sense of the water I never was getting cold because the air temp was enough. Now, if the air temp was only in the 60s, do you think that was the right suit? I don't know. We can hum and haw about that all day long. But at the end of that long run, it took us to another 400 swim right across the American River again, and then we had to do the second longest run to kind of make our way all the way back to the lower part where we had started.
Right. By that point, we're heading back home. I think this is a good place to mention, like for a race organization that's never put on a swim run, I thought everything was really well marked.
Yes,
it was. I mean, it wasn't a complicated course, but still, you can appreciate that there's a lot of turn signs and things like that.
They had the teardrop flags and like an aid station before every swim entrance, pretty much.
Yeah, they had 4 aid stations for an 8-mile swim run.
Yeah,
tons of volunteers out there.
So I was looking at the Total Body Fitness or TBF Racing. They've been doing endurance events in Sacramento since 1991. Yeah. So they know how to put on an event. So I guess we shouldn't be super surprised that, they can sort of figure it out.
Oh, for sure. No, for sure. But I mean, it's just like when you go in with no expectations, and then it's like, the fact that it was great. It's just like, I mean, I think it just speaks to what a great event they put on. But yeah, on that run when we were heading back, that's another one where we were just like, we picked a pace and we held it, and the whole time felt like we were pressing.
Similar story on the tether too. There was never a time where it was like a guitar string. It was usually like, oh, let me kind of gather this up because it could be a problem.
Yeah,
it's too dangly. And then when mountain bikers coming by you on the opposite way, I'm like, oh my god! All I could think about was like a loose tether catching a handlebar, and we get yanked around. So they got me a little bit worried. But after that run 4, we did the reverse of swim 3 to make our way back to that side, to the hotel side where we stayed, the hotel side of the river, because we actually stayed on the opposite side of the river of where the start line was. We could have done swim 2. Would have been.
We could have. Yeah, we were talking about it, but our wives thought it'd be too much of a flex.
Yeah, they were like, "You guys are ridiculous." We're like, "Oh, we could swim from the hotel to the start line." We're nerds.
Yeah, so then that was basically the last run of the race, which that was another one where
a half mile
run. You just started leading it, and you were just like, I don't need permission. I don't need anything. It's like, I'm feeling good. Let me just go. And I thought it was great.
Yeah, and then the swim 6 was literally just right back across. Super easy and great to come out there with the families there being very excited. And we were talking about this earlier today too, but I feel the way that we sort of managed the race, and we without talking really, I guess, so this would be the flow state is. And we sort of had such a good time with it that we'll make this advanced topics and swim run episode as well. But how for Casco or for other races we've done in the past, you and I have been very prescriptive about, okay, Chipper's leading this swim, or Chris is going to lead this run, or this is like very prescriptive on who's doing what roles and what legs. And this one we just went with the flow, for lack of a better word. And I think, maybe for some key places during the World Champs, I feel like that's going to be the most successful strategy for us.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a lot of it is just, obviously we trust each other at this point implicitly, and it's just like, you wanting to go at it, that's fine. I mean, I pretty much I sort of assumed that you wanted to lead the last swim, so I didn't even really fight you on that. But yeah, I think I agree. I think the fact that we're just, like I mentioned before, we're sort of peaking and we're at very similar levels, which obviously that's not necessary to have a fun swimrun experience. Yeah. But I think from where we're at and where we want to be sort of, a little bit over a month from now is being that sort of in sync where the paces aren't too out of hand. Anyone can lead a swim at a moment's notice if necessary. Yes. Anyone can sort of take control of leading a run and setting a pace. And
I will say, after the first run, when I kind of went for broke there, you leading the second swim was nice because I did get a recovery. I felt like I needed the recovery there. And I'm like, what was? I'm like, well, hold on, this wasn't anything you agreed about the night before. What did you just do? As I'm like, oh, this is nice to get a.
It's funny because I thought it was because you saw your buddy Nate and you're like, you wanted to be like, hey, check this out, and you just like, turn the corner and took off.
And well, he followed us for like a couple minutes, like recording video and stuff. And then he texted me later. He's like, "You guys were moving too fast. I had 10 miles left to go on my run, so I couldn't keep that
burn
pace."
That much.
Yeah. So I thought it was a great race. And a couple aid stations that we went through, oh, you guys have the tether on. We heard that a couple times, and a couple people were like, "You guys look really pro." And we're like, "Hey, if we could just look in the parts half the bottle."
Well, exactly. I mean, one thing that we always talk about is swim-ins are great, but if you can do them elegantly, it's actually kind of a beautiful thing coming in out of the water and with your partner and helping each other out. And and just moving through nature that way. And teams like Bronwyn and Greg, like they make it look like a dance almost when they're going over islands and things like that. So I think that's sort of like the ideal form expression of swimrun. And I was definitely, all of our transitions were super tight. We didn't waste any time doing anything. Like I said, we were taking straight lines, climbing up and over rocks onto the trail and stuff. But I will say my favorite finish line experience had to be get out of the water. We go over this little mat, race is over. Our kids run up to us.
Right there.
Super stoked. We, as we mentioned, we're sort of second place overall to this 15-year-old kid. First team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my daughter was like, "You're gonna win." I'm like, "Well, I don't know anything. Okay, like we're just gonna go have fun. You know, we're gonna work hard, but we're just gonna go have fun." So she was like, "I knew you were gonna win all this crazy stuff.
Don't get your hopes up."
Exactly. Like settle down, everybody. But yeah, that was super fun. And again, our wives were there, and they got to sort of experience that. It was just a great event.
Yeah, it was great, and we gave our best feedback to Bill, one of the owners of TBF Racing, and he seemed to be pretty pleased with how everything went. I think their hope is that they can have maybe 2 to 3 of these races a year. So, that would be awesome. I think, or we saw there's definitely a big endurance community in Folsom, Sacramento area. I don't think that's a secret to anybody. I would maybe, not have it on July. It's going to be 90 degrees or whatever during the start. But yes. I was super impressed with the area. Talk about an ideal. There's no boats allowed, so you can only have a kayak or a canoe or a paddleboard
or something. Yeah, so... as someone who basically professionally would do consulting around events, like I think that what we mentioned before, this is exactly what the sport needs. You need to have these sort of grassroots, entry level, like no stressy. What are you going to do? There was even someone who raced with their dog. Like the guy raced with his dog, and it was totally cool.
They won the short course.
It was great. It was great. But you need to have these events, and I think where you see pockets of swimrun communities kind of pop up, like Bellingham, Washington, right, where there's like a good location for swim running. North Carolina, where they have the National Whitewater Rafting Center, which is like miles and miles of trails. San Diego, if Bill continues putting on these events and we keep getting people there, it's going to grow the sport, and you're going to find that Folsom is going to become this little hub of swimrun, because that's how it needs to grow. And bunch of people who did Folsom, and we're going to do a shout out of the folks we met in a minute. Doing Folsom makes them feel like they could do Austin, or makes them feel like they could do Casco, and then they want to go do an Untitled race or something. So just like in triathlon, it's really your local mom and pop triathlons where people learn how to do transitions and do all that stuff, and then they go do an Ironman, whenever later. I think for swimrun, like this event was just a great experience.
Yeah.
So many people did it for the first time. Everyone was like, that was crazy. Can't wait to do another one. We were getting a lot of feedback from folks that they had a great time. And
we saw people who scored wetsuits off the Swimrun swap meet on Facebook. People that we have been commenting with on Strava, who are in the Strava club. So it was just always really cool. And of course, we saw our friends from Petaluma, our pool mates.
Yeah.
So that was always also cool as well. So we got a couple folks to shout out here. Brian, who we were chatting with a little before, he had done. He was inquiring about what other races we were doing, and then when I started dropping the stats on the World Championship, I saw his mind actively getting low when that was happening. So nice to meet you, Brian. There.
Yeah, Sarah, who's in our Strava club, and she actually sent us a really nice note. She's like, "There's no way I would have done this without the show," and we were just like, so thank you for that message. That's definitely why we do it.
Yeah, that's what keeps it going, for sure.
We really think you just got to get to the start line of one of these things, and it's going to be awesome. Another gentleman that I spoke with a lot, who's also in our Strava club, Jason Baker.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Gear Talk episodes. Like, he's a big fan of listening to the show. So it was really cool to just connect with folks that are sort of a lot of folks that are doing the sport for the first time, I thought.
Yeah, definitely. And we also got a chance to meet Karen, who was a Folsom local there. So she was very excited. She had been eyeing this race for, they were going to originally do it last year, but they weren't able to do it. So she's been wanting to do it for a while.
Yeah.
Nice to see Karen there. And then Jen from the Bay Area also swims in aquatic park. She scored her suit off the Swimrun swap meet. So
which
is like a perfect full circle.
It's an amazing thing. Honestly, Chipper, that was one of your best ideas of 2019.
Wow. Just that year?
For that year.
Okay.
In that year, that was one of your top ideas. I mean, the fact that someone found their suit there, it's awesome. It's so great. I mean, I think...
and Jeff from Livermore also came down as well, who we've raced with at Swimrun Lake James earlier this year. We raced with him, and we saw him in Austin last year, so it was cool to see him, and he did the solo category this year.
Yeah. And obviously, we really want to shout out everyone from Bill and the rest of the crew. We think that they put on an awesome event, and the fact that they were stoked and wanted to do more of these, I think it's great, and that location really suits itself. I mean, I was talking to Jason Baker of like, hey, once our season's over and stuff, like, I think we're just going to organize just like a swim run practice up here.
I think the Folsom area and the temperature suits itself for a nice like March and November, April, October kind of range, those 4 months.
So anything not summer.
Anything not summer. Not summer would be perfect in that course.
And honestly, I think in summer you're going to hate this, but I think if you just start early enough, it's okay, because if you can be in and out, do a 3-hour swim run, but you're done by like 9:30 or something.
And it has the opportunity to, I mean, that trail goes for miles in every direction. Like, you can really elongate this thing and be ping pong and back and cross the river as much as you want. Or there was ample
or do
circuits,
do like a short sort of like thing you can practice like your transitions.
EX swim run thing. And the way they designed the course too, they kind of had the swims consolidated in areas. I'm sure it made it easier from like a management and safety perspective. They had every swim had at least 2 people on
either
one
side.
person kind of at the front, and then in a kayak or on a paddleboard, just kind of making sure everyone was good. I mean, there was
always a volunteer at each exit and at each entrance,
clearly marked. I mean, I think the short course could be a cool, you take that kind of small course and you do the format of the EX swim run style and maybe do 1 or 2 loops on it and have kind of that. I think that could be a pretty cool little offering as well.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the location was great. I think they did an awesome job. And again, going in with pretty much 0 expectations, I think that it was just super fun, man.
Yeah.
It's exactly what Swimrun's about. Just a bunch of people getting together, doing something kind of crazy, and then, having an experience.
And it was also cool to get out and just like rev it up for a couple 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Turn it up, see what happens.
Yeah.
It
was fun.
We didn't blow up, so that was good.
Yeah, it was fun. It was nice.
Even brought nutrition.
It was nice to press for the entire time, and then at the end, just be like, "Well, that was cool."
Yeah, I did have a 90, a jumbo gel. I did preload with a caffeine 100.
Maybe that's what did it.
And I will say that after the race, I don't know, maybe it was the adrenaline mixed with the caffeine, but I was like,
"You're up."
I was up for a while. I was like, "Let's go."
Wow. I was like, let's go home.
Well, because we had to jam back to the hotel because checkout was in like 15 minutes. So we made it.
Yeah, we had to wait for for the award ceremony, which is as ridiculous as it sounds. But I think final thoughts. We've already been kind of touching on this.
Yeah.
Super fun weekend. First time doing back-to-back swim runs, which I think we managed to not do anything incredibly stupid. Totally feel buoyed and energized for our last little build.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it was great as well. And I think that, it was another great weekend, and our 10th swim run. Crazy.
Double digits now. 11th is just going to be this short. Number 10, shortest one we've done. Number 11, longest one we've done.
Yeah.
Let's go. Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Sign up for our newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swimrun activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff.
Way
to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run.
Then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then another run.
And then just keep going. Until you're done.
Or maybe can't stop.